and I got home, and I, like, go to open the door, and yeah, my front door locked. The deadbolt was having none of it. It's just like, no, I hate you. Get your key out of me. You're violating me. And I was like, no. So I didn't even get to, like, fucking have lunch that night until, like, 7 o'clock at night or some shit, which most people see as dinner. And I would agree. I was grumpy. That would have been if we had decided to do it after I got inside, that would have been the grumpiest podcast ever. Because you would have been, like, way sick. You would have been like, I feel terrible, and I would have been like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
That might have been more interesting, though, because I don't know if you noticed, but it's a holiday week. There's no news to talk about, so we might just need to, what we're playing, and then bullshit for 20 minutes.
We can talk about the launch of the Xbox One, because last week we talked about the PS4.
That's true.
We can do that. I'm not sure if there's anything else we can talk about. There was something, I thought of something, there was a moment that I thought of something, but it seems kind of tasteless to talk about. No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk about that, because that was on my mind. And I am referring to a high-profile pedophilia case. Do you know what's going on here?
Is the Lost Prophets guy?
Yeah.
I vaguely heard about that.
Yeah.
Is that video game related?
No, it's not really video game related, but I was just like, I was thinking about news, and, you know, like, I read the news, and it was like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm mainly disturbed by allegations of sexual abuse in the first place. But when it's that ridiculously pathologic, like, I mean, the guy pleaded guilty to 13 offenses. 2 of those offenses that he pleaded guilty to were attempts to rape a baby.
I can't even make a joke about that, so I'm just gonna sit here.
That was the thing, is that, like, I couldn't even, I couldn't even be hateful. I couldn't even be like, oh my God, that's despicable. Like, that's, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I couldn't get riled up. I just read that and I was like, oh my God, dude, you must be so fucked up. I'm sorry. Like, don't get me wrong. I want that guy locked the fuck away, like, everywhere. I want him locked away in every possible, like, empty room that you could lock. But yeah, like, that was the crossing point for me. I was just like, nope.
We talk about how Final Fantasy Lightning Returns is bombing.
But dude, it looks so awesome.
Does it?
Not for me to play. And maybe not for those I care about deeply. But for people I want to see suffer, it looks amazing. Yeah, you know, it's looking pretty, woo. All right, why don't we get over this mope fest, this morose muchachos party, and this glum chummery, and get on to something a little bit more dairy based. I ate a lot of cheese. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Jam Jam. Yes, Jam Jam the podcast, where I, your host, Johnny Maloney, lead you through the intricate and vast world of international jam jams. The Jam Jam, founded 5 years ago, in order to catch on to these 72-hour, 48-hour film jams and game jams where people get together and try to make something new out of an industry, focuses on the world of jamming jams. Now, thankfully, today I have a spectacular guest in the world of jam jams, and that is prolific experimental and esoteric jam master extraordinaire, Austin Yorsky. Now, many people may recognize the name Austin Yorsky as the Jam Master who won the Jam Master Supreme Trophy last year, 2012, in Tallahassee, Florida, for his famed Dust Jam. Well, Austin's about to begin a new run of Jam Jam this year, and we're going to talk to him about some of his inspirations. Now, Austin, rumors this year around the a Jam that you're going to be jamming center around like a myriad of different potential flavors. Some people close to you have said that you've been thinking about experimenting with Rust Jam. We had another person, an anonymous informant, who says that you're going for something a little more immaterial with a fire-flavored jam. And yet another rumor running around the jam industry is that you're even thinking about materializing a flavor that so far doesn't even exist in jam form, such as anxiety or disappointment. Now, you don't have to tell us what you have planned for this year's Jam, but I personally am kind of curious about the inspiration, the roots you're going to be digging into this year to bring us your best jam that you're going to jam for Jam.
Johnny?
Yes.
What's the difference between jam, jelly, and marmalade? I feel like those words are used interchangeably in my life, but I know that's not probably technically correct.
I don't know if it is technically correct. I think that classically speaking, marmalade is like peach-based, like peach or well, maybe not. Whenever I think marmalade, I think like peach or something else. But let's see here. It's a fruit preserve. That's a good start. It's about fruit. Made from the juice and peel of citrus fruits boiled with sugar and water. It can be produced from, are you ready for this? Kumquats.
Damn it, kumquats.
Lemons, limes, grapefruits, mandarins, sweet oranges, bergamotes. I know that you Americans like to say bergamots, and other citrus fruits or any combination thereof. All right, and now the Wikipedia entry for jam is fruit preserves are preparations of fruits, vegetables, and sugar, often canned or sealed for long-term storage.
It says here, marmalade is generally distinguished from jam by its fruit peel.
Ah! See, apparently they add pectin as a gelling agent to jam. Before World War II, fruit preserve recipes did not include pectin, and nobody knew what a concentration camp was. That's an odd thing to have in a Wikipedia article about jam.
That revelation was a huge blow to the jam industry.
It really was. I don't think that jam has yet recovered from it. However impressed I am by the jams that come out of Jam. Jam.
Yeah, at a certain point, it just sounded like nonsense. I'm sure it made sense, everything you said, but all I heard was jam, the jam.
I can understand. Your brain is a little clogged right now. When I was in college, actually, a buddy and I decided to form a band. And by form a band, I mean not really form a band, but just say that we were a band. And we decided to call ourselves Precarious Jam.
Okay.
And the reason why was because it was going to be the fabled triple entendre, where it was going to be like, we're Precarious Jam, because it's like, whoa, we're in a tight spot. Points for anybody who recognizes the reference there. And then second, it was going to be Precarious Jam, because it was like, yeah, dude, jam, Precarious Jam. And then at concerts, we were going to sell jars of Precarious Jam.
Do you remember that time, was it you and me and Leon, we started a band on the podcast? I had to find that.
Probably. That sounds like something we would do.
Because somebody, it might have been me, somebody photoshopped, like, our first album cover. Oh, it was going to be, like, me, you, Leon, and Horse eBooks in a band.
I don't think I ever saw this Photoshop.
The Twitter spam bot Horse eBooks that turned out to be a real person doing performance art. Did you hear about that?
Absolutely, I did, and it's genius.
Okay, I gotta find it. This is probably like several years back in my Twitter feed.
That is like Dadaist art right there. Horse eBooks.
Yeah, someone's gonna write a really interesting dissertation on that someday.
Well, I mean, you know, like, it was all in the name. I knew that it was something very deliberate when, like, because if you read it really fast, it sounds like horsey books.
It was a little too coherent for its own good sometimes. Maybe that was the giveaway.
I'm not sure if it was a little too coherent is the explanation, but that even in its nonsense, there was like the weight of a cognitive being behind it.
Something like that.
Because, I mean, you know, like, we've all seen spam. I have a folder of spam. Like, there was a stretch, like, late last year and early this year that I got at work. Spam that I got from, you know, like, a Ukrainian dating site or something like that. And it was, my buddy Jordan and I joked about it all the time because he came and worked with us for a little while. Because just the phrases it used, it was like you could tell that they were trying so hard to be appealing and, like, draw people in, but they didn't know how to speak English properly.
Well, there was a segment we used to do on the old podcast before you were with us where we would read forum spam on BT. And some of that stuff was, like, really weird and, like, surreal. And then one time we think that one of the spam bots, like, tried to commit suicide or something. I don't know. It was really weird. It was like your website saved me. I was like, oh, spam bot, it's okay.
I'm trying to remember. There was this. They ended each email with a single. Okay, yeah, that was it. It was the last phrase, the last sentence in each one of these emails was, "Do not miss this chance to all for free." And I mean, like, I recognize that they were trying to say that, like, you've all got a chance to get in here. Don't miss it. Remember, it's free. But the way that it was punctuated and the way that it was worded, it sounded, honestly, it looked like they were writing, "Do not miss this chance to all for free." So
okay, I found the album art. I'm going to send it to you. I'm sorry, it wasn't actually you who were involved.
Oh, that's okay with me.
But the name of the band is based on an actual conversation we had. I guess it was on a podcast? I don't remember. I might use that as the title card now so everybody could see it. But our band is called Great Ball Action.
That's fantastic.
Someone has to dig up the origin of that.
I'm trying to remember. Like, was there ever a podcast that the three of you guys did without me?
Maybe?
Because I remember there was the one where I was away in California that James did that had a very touching eulogy. But I don't know. I thought I'd been more regular than that. Maybe not. I guess maybe Great Ball Action was a podcast I didn't make, and thus I'm out of the band.
It might have been like some separate incidences that like boiled on to Twitter and like went from there. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but it was like a real conversation we were having about a game, and I think I said it was like it has really good ball action. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe it was like Super Monkey Ball or something, which is a real game I didn't make up. And we were just like, oh, that would be a great band name, so I photoshopped it together or something.
You guys Pete bested me.
I get that reference. I never know how to respond if I like understand, but I don't have anything like to add.
That's
like,
okay. That's okay. I'll get a weird solo career or something like that, where I'll experiment with jazz sensibilities and synthesizers. That sounds horrible. Never mind.
Oh man, I have way too much Twitter like to go through. I talk too much.
Just don't bother. That's what I do. The only reason that I honestly do is because my phone's a piece of crap. And it often forgets. It's like, you had a what with a Twitter, you bitch?
I'm gonna find the origin of great ball action if it kills me.
It may very well. Oh, man. So, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but video games.
I know, right? The 1 week where there is no news to talk about, we don't have anything to bullshit to put that off.
It's kind of fucking ridiculous. Wait, what? Okay, no. There is one thing that I want to say. All right, I want to say this because it is the first day of the Steam Autumn Sale, and all I want to say is, those who are about to Steam, we salute you. Your fallen wallets will be remembered here with much love. Go get 'em, Tiger. Make Dad proud. Although this actually, this does actually transfer into something that I've kind of been maybe wanting to say on the podcast, because I feel like I've been acting like a bit of a dick on the podcast lately in terms of my predisposition to enjoy the PC platform. I just want to say, I really hope that everybody who listens to this knows that when I talk about PC Master Race and, bullshit crap like that, that I am just joking. Like, I don't really give a damn, It's just, you kind of find, like, what works for you, what you want to play with, how you want to play, and you enjoy it. Like, I've got no problems with console gamers. I've got no problems with people who love Nintendo or handheld gamers or things like that. I like it. I don't have a problem with people who game on their cell phone. I think they're kind of weird. But, not in a judgmental way. Just in a kind of like, where's the narrative? Don't you want to get in there and, like, mod out the resolution? But I don't feel like I should have to clarify that. But I don't know if we've got any new listeners or something like that who are like, wow, that Johnny dude's a dick. But I don't know. Yeah, the other day. The reason why I say this. The other day I was thinking about MS-DOS 3.1, and I remember as a kid how much fun I used to have fucking around in the AutoExec.bat and the config.sys. Just because it was like, hey. Like, time to get Ultima 7 working. Anybody who knows what I'm talking about, hold the tears back. It's going to be okay. You don't have to do that anymore. But, yeah. And it just, I don't know, translated. I like to get in there and, like, fuck around with components and upgrade my graphics card and get new hard drives and fucking mess around with shaders and mods and shit like that. I have fun with it. I have as much fun almost trying to get a game working if it's all fucked up as I do playing it. It's weird.
I was going to say, it's like the platform is a game unto itself.
Almost, like sometimes. And, I mean, I'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about what we played this week, but it's just this world that I'm entrenched in, and I just love it. And I love mouse and keyboard, and I love having all the keys bound to, like, different actions, and I love mods, and I love user-generated content, and I love open-source shit, and it just, like, it's awesome. And I realize that for some people, all they want to do is just, like, come home and sit in front of their TV, slap a disc in the drive, and, like, play. And that's cool. I am fine with that. So,
Actually, as you were talking, I was listening, but I looked up the origin of Great Ball Action, my band.
Where's your band from?
Robert wrote an article like 2 years ago about a game called Zen Pinball, and in his headline it was like he said that it had great ball action. And so a reader commented on that, like on the Twitter post about it, saying that's the first time I've ever heard the phrase great ball action. And then I responded saying that would be a great name for a band. And then Taylor got involved and Leon got involved, and it went from there. So it was actually a reader who pointed out the ridiculousness of Robert's headline that led to it.
Okay, so it didn't happen on the podcast.
Yes.
All right.
So you were not left out.
Okay. All right. I would like to announce my retiring from my jazz influence synthesizer project. The whole thing was founded out of spite.
Are
And
you gonna be a roadie for Great Ball Action now?
I think I'm gonna be. I'm like. Do you guys need a publicist? Because I am all about great ball action.
You can be the groupie wrangler.
You know what? I could talk all day about great ball action. All about great ball action.
Speaking of ball action, do you want to? I mean, the first and really only news story, unless you want to talk about Final Fantasy Lightning Returns bombing, and you don't, is that the Xbox One released and the sales numbers were pretty good. Last week we talked about the PlayStation 4 selling through 1 million units. The Xbone did the same. So, I mean, that to continue our conversation from last week, they're both off to a good start.
I can't say that I'm surprised.
It would have been surprising to me if it had bombed, but the fact that it's more or less, as far as we know, neck and neck with the PS4 is less surprising, I think, because Microsoft has a certain brand penetration in North America, and they also launched in more regions than the PS4. So
yeah, and I think there has to be something said for. I don't really feel like we live in a world anymore that's bound by the territorial border zones of what console you own. When I was a kid, and the Genesis and the Super Nintendo were, measuring dicks against each other. It was sort of like you had one or the other, but then there was that fabled kid that lived at the end of the street on top of the hill, and he had both. And these guys were like yogis. They were gurus of everything. It was like, you were having a fight with a kid about what system was better because, the sound on Super Nintendo was better. Yeah, but the games on Genesis, there's so many more of them. Oh yeah, well the graphics on Super Nintendo was better. Oh yeah, well, blah blah blah. It would escalate, and this child bathed in light would wander past the table, turn and say, "Do not fight, friends. For both your options are good and plentiful, and we should rejoice in the joy of having access to both."
See, in my neighborhood, I had the Genesis, someone else had the Nintendo, and then there was a third guy who had a 3DO. There was.
See, the thing about the 3DO though is the 3DO is like the wild card. It's like the crazy dude in battle who runs out into the middle of the battlefield, and you're like, that guy is gonna get shot. But then he gets back and he's fine and does something amazing, and you're like, dude, I can't tell if you're brave and skillful or just crazy and stupid. That's the 3DO, because it's like you spend that much money and it's kind of awesome, but then, dude, really?
I wouldn't have ever ponied up the cash for one, but they were interesting.
Yeah, true, they were.
But the big thing here for most people, a lot of people were hoping, perhaps vindictively, that the Xbone would bomb, and it did not. It's fine. Although, it appears to have a higher hardware failure rate than the PS4. Have you been hearing about this?
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, I'm not surprised, because I mentioned something last week saying, the more complicated a system that you have, the higher the chance is for something to go wrong. When more things can go wrong, the probability that one of those things is gonna go wrong is a little more prominent.
Yeah. The PlayStation 4 has the blue light of death, apparently, that affects 0.04% of systems.
I don't want to call it the blue light of death.
We'll call it something else when we think of a better name.
You unimaginative bastards! You've done it!
The blue plague only strikes a very small amount of them, but apparently the Xbox has several different issues. I know Yusuf, our writer, picked up one, and it would not display images.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't. Also, I guess the Video Games Awesome people picked one up, and it was just straight broken. So that's 2 for 2 on BT.
They're in my hometown.
Also, apparently there's a disc grinding issue.
Oh.
Apparently there was 150 confirmed cases of Xbox Ones just chewing up discs.
Oh, baby. Oh.
But like Sony's push for fixing that, apparently you can just like call the helpline, tell them, they'll send you a box, send it in, they'll send you a new one. So unfortunate, but it doesn't seem to be as widespread maybe as Red Ring or as game ending. Kind of just send it back in, get a new one, it's all good.
Yeah.
Taking responsibility for it, which is good.
Well,
I'm not gonna.
You have to.
That's true. But I mean, they're not giving people to run around or anything. I don't know.
I don't even remember when the 360s started going, because that was a big thing. Everybody was really upset about that. Are we used to it now? Like, is that just like where it's like, yeah, they're breaking, but whatever, I'm getting another one?
I mean, there's always going to be hardware failure. That's just a scientific kind of fact at this point. There's always you have to make allowances for that. But the Red Ring was unprecedented in just how widespread it was. I had like 3 over my time of being Xbox 360 owner. It was just like a yearly Red Ring. It was just always was going to happen. That was kind of unprecedented, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything being, first of all, failing so regularly, but still being popular despite failing regularly is crazy.
Well, I mean, it says it gives a great deal of credibility to Microsoft's online infrastructure. Which, I mean, we can talk about what won the last console generation, and it was, of course, obviously the Wii. And I'm not even being ironic there.
No, it didn't cost much to make, and it sold a lot more.
Yeah, pretty much. Everybody walked into that leg trap. Not that the Wii is a leg trap. I'm not insinuating that buying a Wii was painful or something like that. I'm merely trying to suggest that you're walking along a forest path and something grabs you, and likely it was the Wii. Math says so. Kids, if somebody grabs you and says "we," run away. But that having been said, we can at least talk about the strengths of what made each system sell. We can talk about the PS3 and say that obviously its exclusives were King of the Jungle at the end of the round.
Yeah, it took 6 years, but yeah.
Yeah, it took them a little while to realize that games.
Yeah.
And that the Xbox 360, obviously the Kinect, charmed everybody.
Yeah, right. I think yes, the Xbox Live community is a huge thing, but you have to remember XBLA was the place to be for like 2 years. Like that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's like that's where everyone went for indie games. For a brief inglorious window.
On consoles, you mean?
Yeah, but I mean that stuff. You can't act like it didn't leak over to PC.
No, actually.
There are a lot of great games that were exclusive to the Xbox 360 before coming to Steam.
But why,
and that wouldn't exist without Microsoft.
Well, okay, there we go. That's the rub right there, that they wouldn't exist without Microsoft. Although now. Dun, 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 we have alternatives to that with crowdfunding.
Yep.
Not that that's gonna cure all your ails. Hallelujah!
Kickstarter and Greenlight are definitely
Cast the demon out, Kickstarter.
Giving people alternatives. But I think because we did the Xbox 360 25 and 25, counting down the most iconic and important games for that platform. And at the end of the day, most of them weren't really exclusive because they later came to other platforms. People were a little confused, curious, angry about that. Here's the thing. The way that Microsoft worked during this console cycle was that they would sign indies to timed exclusivity in exchange for financial backing. If you saw Indie Game the movie, it's like they got Team Meat and they're like, hey, you're with us until we get all that sweet day one sales, then you can go get sloppy seconds on other platforms.
Retro City Rampage was the same.
Yep. So a lot of those games really wouldn't exist without Microsoft, and you have to give them credit there. But I mean, the wheels came off that wagon as Steam gained market share and Kickstarter gained prominence, and then Greenlight and the PSN got a much wider selection. So things have evened out since then.
Yeah,
but
everybody saw the writing on the wall.
So I'm interested to see if the Xbox One will kick up its indie game, but right now it seems the PS4 is where all the indies are going. So,
well, it all depends. I truly believe on what's going on behind the scenes, because despite the fact that Microsoft did actually, help get a lot of the big name indie developers that we know and love nowadays off the ground. In retrospect, a lot of them did not really have that many good things to say about their experience with Microsoft, especially after dealing with alternate venues for indie distribution.
Yeah, almost everyone that was in one of those situations benefited immensely from it before completely and totally souring on the deal. Phil Fish famously was gonna bring Fez 2 to every platform but Microsoft's after what they put him through. So, yeah.
I even remember that at one point in time, I can't remember what event it was, but there were some producers from Remedy that talked about going to Microsoft for Alan Wake.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, it was really great that we got the game done and we managed to get it out there, and we even got it to PC, and that was really fantastic. We were really happy with that, but I'm not sure if we would ever do it again. Which is why I was really surprised when Remedy's new game was like, the Xbox One. I was like, Remedy?
I mean,
did you make a deal with the devil again?
You got to get paid, son.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Not that Microsoft is the devil, but I still feel really skeevy about Steve Ballmer.
There are a lot of people who are negative about exclusives. That say, the publishers are holding those games hostage, and that it'd be better if they're multi-platform and stuff. I've seen some cynicism about it, like Bayonetta 2. People being grumpy about it, but at the end of the day, most exclusives would not exist if not for that exclusivity. It's the reason that a console manufacturer would foot the bill is to give their platform some kind of value over the competition. So they'll eat that loss for the bullet point.
There are arguments to be made, for and against your your point, but in the end, I do kind of have to agree with you. When you look at the history of developers, because a knee-jerk reaction would be something like saying, what, are you telling me that, The Last of Us wouldn't exist because Sony was, or, Metal Gear Solid 4 or something like that, but, the truth of the matter is, the only reason why Metal Gear Solid 4 exists is that because many moons ago, Sony took an interest in an old cult game. Before Metal Gear Solid,
mm-hmm.
Metal Gear was a game that elicited from many, from nearly all the people who played it, the response of, what?
I feel asleep.
And they had some faith in it, and they were like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, there. Some of those things are definitely processes. Like The Last of Us, when you had a track record like Uncharted, Naughty Dog probably could have went and got that published at EA or something.
Yeah.
But they.
But even before Uncharted, yeah.
Yeah, they started with Crash Bandicoot and whatnot, and they built up to a position where they had that kind of clout with the investment as a first-party studio. So. It's not maybe as simple as I was trying to put it, but I think it's a helpful thing to keep in mind.
Absolutely. No, I'm in utter and total agreement with you. Not utter and total, but I want to make you feel good about yourself because you're making a good point.
But yeah, that's the Xbox One situation right now. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The next generation of consoles, the console war, if you will, has already been decided, guys. The 3DS won. It's indisputable and unconquerable. So you want to move on?
I'm okay with that.
The PC, Johnny, obviously is not included in the console war. You guys are like Switzerland up there.
It never has been. I've never wanted to include PC and console gaming and just be like, because, whenever you bring PC games into it, people are like, ugh, PC gamers, ugh, console gamers. So it's like, it's like that whole, the US and the Russians are fighting. Xbox, PS4. And then the super powerful alien ship just, dips into the atmosphere. And Earth unites. And suddenly, there are no console wars, because they hate those PC snobs. But I mean, traditionally, honestly, they've been very, very different markets. And I know plenty of people who have gaming PCs that also have consoles, because they want certain exclusives. But,
yep.
it in the end, it is, I mean, truth be told, these days, it's getting closer and closer to an all-in-one experience, insofar as that, I do have my PC now effortlessly plugged into my television. I've got an HDMI cable that to DVI-D that transmits sound and high-def stuff to my TV, which in turn gets transmitted through optical cables to my sound system, and I can plug a USB Xbox 360 controller or, apparently, a PS4 controller into my PC and just be like, I'm doing everything that you're doing. Go team. But it's still, updating drivers, and I think there's a certain, it requires a level of obsessive compulsion. Sometimes I feel, but I don't see consoles necessarily as being a threat to PCs or PCs being a threat to consoles. I mean, maybe PCs being a threat to consoles, but not really the other way around. Because anybody that has a console in the house, you can sure as hell bet that they have some kind of PC, be it a laptop or a dilapidated desktop or something like that can still run King's Quest 3. That's, but still, in that sense, not really a threat.
3DS, man.
Yeah, 3DS is a threat. It's pervasive. It's the guerrilla warfare of console war.
The 3DS has got more must-own titles in 2 years than every other console combined. It's ridiculous.
And yet, I do not own one.
Well, I mean, Johnny, it's going to take you the rest of your life to get through your Steam backlog. I'm not sure that you even are in the market for new games anymore.
It may very well. When I heard that the autumn sale was on today, I was like, oh boy, I can't wait to go home and see what titles are on sale. And then I got home and I was like, yeah, I literally own all of the daily deals. Okay, sorry, there's there's 2 Splash games I don't own, but one of them is Prototype 2. But yeah, pretty much everything that they've got on display except for, there's a 3rd, there's a 4th, 5. So there's 5 titles that they have on display out of 9, 13, 33 on the front page that I don't, and that's not hitting the next button on the top sellers.
Oh, Johnny. There's got to come a point where you just stop getting excited about Steam sales, right?
I got that last year. I started to get it because the first Steam sale of the year, which I think was I can't remember if they had a spring sale or not. I think it was summer camp, because I think they were testing out their badge system. And I was like, oh boy! And then over the course of the summer sale, I bought 1 or 2 games, and I was like, huh. I remember the Steam sales being more plentiful. And then Christmas came around, and I think I bought 1 game, and I was like, oh, I think I get it now.
But here's the thing. If you had waited to buy all the games that you haven't played up until this point, until the latest sale, you would have saved even more money.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Skyrim's $7 right now. Do you see that shit? Can you imagine Skyrim for $7?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, It's the perfect example of like realizing that you're maxing out a certain earning group. Insofar as that, like, you release your game at $60, right?
Then you get everybody who's willing to pay $60.
Pretty much, with possibly the exception of, like, people that are saving up.
Mm-hmm.
But I would definitely say that within, like, the first 2 or 3 months, you've got everybody. Everybody that's like, yeah, I'm $60 for this. Woohoo, I'm in. And after that, like, 3-month mark, good luck. You better have some really amazing DLC in there, or a prolonged advertising campaign. I mean, when was the last time you saw a game get advertised anywhere a month after it's been out? Doesn't happen.
Yeah, the day one stuff's really important, but
and understandably so.
Yeah, I just don't think it's like I see where people are like, man, why don't they bring back this property? It's super popular on the internet. And I'm like, the hindsight fan club does not translate to the quarterly earnings reports.
No, it does not. But yeah, after that 3-month mark, you got to start talking about mutability, But that's the thing, is that, like, stores aren't willing to buy material copies of games that they can't offload. They can't do it.
Yeah, there's a flexibility to the digital marketplace that takes advantage of certain economic tendencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And as long as you're not a stickler about being a collector, it's in your benefit as well. Because at no point in time is Steam ever going to be like, oh no, sorry, you can't buy Skyrim for $7.50 because we ran out of copies. There would be an internet riot.
Speaking of internet riot, have you heard? I mean, there's not much more news. You don't want to talk about Lightning Returns, do you?
I hear it sucks.
Yeah, it's out in Japan. Didn't sell well. People are justifying it, saying, "Oh, it outsold Super Mario 3D World," but that's a Wii U exclusive, and there are like 20 Wii U's on the ground in Japan, so that's not fair. The fact is, it's a relative failure compared to the other ones. Maybe not to its budget. We'll see.
So do you figure that people are finally noticing that they've been eating shit?
I mean, there are people who like each of them.
I'm talking to you, Sean.
Here's the thing, right? Okay, 1.5 million people bought the first one, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people didn't like it. But let's say, for example, 500,000 people did like it, because that's how many people bought 13.2. Now, out of that, how many people liked 13.2? Half of that, like, you're getting diminishing returns every time.
It's basically it's people being like, okay, I'm sticking with it because the next one's they're gonna turn it around, and that, like, there's that cutoff where it's like, no, I'm done. That's it.
Yeah, it's like they're retaining some people, but they're not gaining anyone new. All they're doing is losing people. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the Iron Man movies. Like, the first one was really good, and so more people went and saw the second one, and it made more money. And then that was, debatably quality, but it made so much money, like, more people went and saw the third one, and it set all kinds of records.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't bringing in new people, it's just alienating old.
Final Fantasy 13 sequels are like breathing into a paper bag over and over and over again. Just because it's good air doesn't mean it's getting any fresher.
That metaphor goes for the engine as well, which we've talked about that entire snafu before.
Oh yeah.
But hopefully now that they can justify everything to the accountants, so they can move on.
Just bring on Final Fantasy fucking 15 already. And call it that. Just be like, have your ad, just like show some fucking gameplay and just be like, Final Fantasy fucking 15. You wanted it.
The tagline would be like, it's about time, asshole.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
What a world it would be if fans could actually control the advertising of games.
Yeah. You know what? Do you think, okay, 15 comes out, it's a huge success critically and commercially. Does it revive the brand? Does the stigma go away and we just kind of put 13 in a little box in the corner?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
okay.
like, Final Fantasy as a series has such a deep stirring in the heart of the gamer because everybody's got a great Final Fantasy memory.
It's formative for a lot of us.
Yeah, and not even just, like, formative, but it's like, you know, it runs as a thread. It runs as a strain. And it's not like other games where... It's not like Assassin's Creed where it's an attempt at high-mindedness, and it succeeds really well for the first couple entries into the series, but then it starts to overstay its welcome a little bit. And, like, people are gradually getting kind of tired of it, and just, like, despite the fact that evidently, like, further releases of the game are bettering itself. Like, it's, you know, Assassin's Creed 3 is a better game than any of its predecessors. It is. A better game. It maybe doesn't necessarily tell the story better, or, you know, like, maybe you find the story less interesting. I didn't, but it's a better game. And then, like, Final Fantasy, it's just like, when they're done with one, that's it. I know that they've been doing, like, 13-2 and Lightning Returns and shit like that, you know, but, like, when someone's like Final Fantasy 15, you're not like, oh, God, not another Final Fantasy game.
That's one thing, as much shit as I give Square Enix, and I guess, by extension, you know, Squaresoft before it, you can never accuse them of not being willing to take risks with the IP. They're always reinventing. They're always just throwing everything away and starting over, like, perhaps to their detriment.
At times, yeah.
Like you say, you know, Assassin's Creed is like the same game. They're just steadily improving it. Maybe that gets a little boring. But Final Fantasy, it's like, let's just get rid of the battle system that we made famous and do this entirely different thing. For 12 and 13, they did that.
Yeah.
That's
arguably even, like, 7 and even 8. Where it was like, yeah, you remember spells?
Yeah, 8, my God, I forgot about that.
People don't have them anymore. Well, why not? Because you have to steal them.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's an argument for another day. That's some of the worst game design I've ever seen, and I know some people who will defend it to the death.
I'm not arguing it. I'm just saying that was like, you know, that was like, okay, so we just did this Mako system, or Mako, or whatever you want to call it.
The Materia system from 7?
Yeah. How do you want to elaborate on that? Fuck it!
Yeah.
I got a great idea, Jeff. Why are you calling me Jeff? I'm Japanese.
Jeff Sam.
I don't know. Why are we speaking English? Fuck you, Bernard.
Yeah. There's a lot. They have so many systems too, and so many of them are like separately iconic, like the Job system from 5 and the Esper system from 6. It's like they don't feel like the same series. It's weird.
No, they are like, honestly, they are game designers. There are some people in this world that are sequel makers, and then there are people that are game designers. And I can never, ever, ever, ever accuse the Final Fantasy series of being anything but game designers. That's it. Not like, you know, they're not flawless. I'm not like, you know, if you're like, hey, John, what are your 10 best games of all times? Number 1, Final Fantasy. Number 2, Final Fantasy 2. Number 3, Final Fantasy 3. Number 4, Final Fantasy 5. Number 5, Final Fantasy 4. Like, it just, no, but... particularly in recent years, they have not been afraid to reinvent themselves. So yeah, 15 comes out. It blows your eyelids off. Like, you can do nothing. You can't even sleep anymore. You know, you're just like, fuck, Final Fantasy. Everybody, like, they lose their shit. The world is aching for an amazing, like, a universally acclaimed amazing Final Fantasy game. And if they deliver it, oh, Jesus Christ, you can bet your ass. You can bet your sweet Floridian ass that everybody will be lining up outside of fucking GameStop on their knees, hands clasped together, whispering thank you to the heavens
I was about to say that everyone's waiting for a universally acclaimed Final Fantasy. It's like they made one a couple of years ago. They just didn't bring it to North America. Assholes. I still can't, there's no way that they better. I mean, there's got to be an HD like remake of Type 0 coming or something. Why would you keep that to yourself?
Maybe they're gonna kickstart it.
Speaking of kickstarting and bringing things, have you heard about the rumors about Fallout 4 and Shenmue 3? There's a lot of these trademark rumors going around. Are any of these in your zone?
Well, Fallout 4 is in my zone, but you're talking about it in lieu or not in lieu of? Excuse me, in relation to Kickstarter?
Not necessarily. I was just thinking about projects that could be coming up. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of a vague connection.
I see.
I'm hearing rumblings, but nothing very official.
Well, I mean, for crying out loud, considering that Bethesda made a big show of buying the Fallout license, I would not be surprised that they decided to make another one. I will be excited about it, depending on who's doing the fucking writing. Because as I've established in many episodes of the podcast before, Bethesda doesn't have any writers. They have people who think they are writers. And they are not.
They have literate employees.
Yes.
That is slightly different.
Yeah. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Look, dragons. Go get them.
Yeah. Do you think the Shenmue one, is anything going to come of that? Do you think they're going to bring that back? Because that popped up earlier today, and then immediately people were like, that's fake.
It would be cool.
Also, Sega said apparently they're going to consider letting Atlus use some of their old IP. We could see maybe another Valkyria.
That would be fucking awesome.
Next gen, man. That's going to be some opportunities.
Fucking, well, actually, yeah. You know what? Like now that you mention it, next gen, I have this image in the back of my head about, like console gaming being something like what it was. And now I'm like, no, fuck, dude, there's online infrastructure now. There's going to be digital distribution. There's going to be all this shit. There's going to be budget titles. That room for medium range games that I talk about on like isolated occasions where I'm like, yeah, there's room in the market for that fucking $30 to $50 game. Where it's not like, we got Kiefer Sutherland to voice the dog. We got Christian Bale to make all the sounds of the doors being kicked open.
I think Call of War as Gunslinger and Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon are both going to be Game of the Year contenders, while none of the actual blockbusters from Ubisoft will even be considered.
I fucking had loads of fun with both of those games. I still haven't finished Blood Dragon, though. I gotta get back to that. Because of the dragons.
And their blood.
Yeah. But yeah, so I keep talking about, like, I gotta get into the new mindset. I gotta be like, a new dawn has arisen on gaming. But, I guess it is. It's a new time. And hopefully, we're going to see a little bit more sensible, cooler heads.
Do you think, though, like budget-wise? Because
I want niche markets. I want the Fox Searchlight of video games. I want some guy to be like, you know what? There's this game here that not a lot of people bought, but there's a huge fandom for it on the internet. How about we throw it $10? See what they can do with it. Sell it for $30. It's not big. It's not like super high budget. But, maybe we can make a name for ourselves. Hire, like, new studios that are looking to, like, prove themselves, that don't have the clout to be like, fuck you. We're fucking Irrational Games. Give us all your money. And we'll bring you a BioShock game in name only. But yeah, like, I mean, there's room for wiggle here. There's room for new business strategies. You can find it. I mean, the rise of indie games has shown that you can have small teams of guys with good ideas who are just dedicated and they love the craft. Like a game like Team Meat was designed by two people. Team Meat, two guys. Or, Super Meat Boy, not Team Meat, sorry. Was designed by two guys, Team Meat. Imagine if they were 10 guys.
That's like 5 times as much meat.
That's a lot of meat. Imagine you've got 3 ribs on your plate. Boom, you got 15. Eat them. I dare you.
For some reason, I was waiting for you to just go jam, 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 jam.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the jam, 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 jam.
Austin, you're crazy.
Jam, 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 jam.
Stop jamming your jam in my jam.
Jonathan.
Actually, interesting fact, my name is not Jonathan.
It is now.
Are we singing? 'Cause I'll do my creed.
I don't know. I'm just feeling really weird. It went from, like, an imitation to you seriously sounding like you were in pain.
Well, I mean, isn't that Scott Stapp's M.O.? Somebody shoved something where they shouldn't have.
Oh, man. I always, whenever we make, like, a specific reference, I worry about how many people aren't going to get it.
All right, if you've never heard of Creed, do yourself a favor. Do not go to YouTube. Do not look them up. You are not interested. It will do nothing but hurt your life. Kids, don't do drugs. Don't listen to Creed. Especially don't listen to Creed.
I mean, I don't particularly care for them, but everyone acts like they're like Nickelback or something. They're just a mediocre rock band.
Austin, we don't talk about them in Canada.
Oh, the back, if you will.
I'm blanking out here. Sorry, I just lost like the last 30 seconds. What were we talking about?
We were talking about what you played this week.
Oh, well, you know what? This week, all the games I want to play are still broken.
PC Master Race.
The thing about PC gaming is that it is easier for people to get their games out on PC. It is, because you don't have to pay publishing fees, you don't have to be certified. Like, every game that you buy that has, like, the Sony logo or the Microsoft logo on its case basically says that they had to send it. They had to send the code of this game to these companies that owns that platform and basically ask, okay, is this good enough for us to sell on your system?
Certification.
And certification not only guarantees a level of quality, but it also costs quite a bit of money.
Yep.
So while it is certainly guaranteed to give you this level of quality that you can expect from pretty much everything that comes through the store that you frequent that has that logo on it, it also forbids smaller, less wealthy developers from having their games come to the platform. So while it is true that you are much less likely to get crashes and bugs and strange things on console, it is not unheard of course, because as I mentioned earlier in the episode, the more complicated a machine or program you are dealing with, the more likely it is for something to get wrong. But when you release a game on PC, it's widely considered to be open source, in terms that you can just, release a program and just be like, hey, install this. And it's like, okay. And
Yeah.
as long as you do that intelligently, you're not going to, like, get any weird viruses or anything like that. But when it comes to specifically the area of games, it cuts both ways. Insofar as that you see games that you would never really get to see on console, either because, the developer doesn't have enough money or the controls just aren't there for them. Like games that pop off the top of my head right now are Papers, Please, Don't Starve, oh God, like what else? I should probably just look at my Steam list. Trauma. What are some new ones that came out? And anyway, my point being, Terraria, Gone Home. Even like the Amnesia games. Like you don't get innovation without certain people wanting to take chances, but when, only certain people can take chances, then not all chances are explored necessarily. So, when I say that all the games that I wanted to play this week are still broken, I am, of course, talking about Deadly Premonition and X Rebirth. I talked about them last week. Now, to their credit, Egosoft is doing everything they can to fix X Rebirth, which basically says to me that they released it in an unfinished state. They knew it was unfinished, but they had maxed out their development schedule. Deep Silver was probably breathing down their neck. It was like, this has to get done. Like, they just released update, I think, like 1.17 or something like that, after, like, 1.16, 1.15, 1.14, and before that, they didn't even really number them. But yeah, it's still, like, it's just not... The joystick support is still fucking me up. I haven't played it barely at all this week. And just to be clear, like, they updated it on Saturday, and then before on Friday, and then before that, they updated it on Wednesday. So, like, they're fixing it. They're doing it. But at this point in time, I'm just kind of like, okay, fuck. I'm going to wait until you're done. Because I don't want to go in, fuck around with a game, find out it's still broken, and then be like, okay, I guess I'll try it in 3 more days. Which is mainly the problem I'm having with Deadly Premonition. Although, like, weirdly enough, Deadly Premonition got patched today. Now, I expressed a little bit of concern as to whether or not Deadly Premonition was actually going to get patched, because, like, they hadn't really talked about it at all. But yeah, they've released a patch 1.01 today. And it did a couple of things. In the first place, and I didn't know this, that it didn't have this, but it added controller support for the game. Yeah.
This has been Patch Notes with Johnny Maloney.
I just, like, no, because I told you when I first started playing it that my buddy was like, why aren't you playing with the controller? I was like, well, mouse and keyboard, I get better aim action with the mouse. And he's like, yeah, but its janky controls are part of its charm. And I'm like, no, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
But it wasn't ever supported to begin with.
It wasn't even a fucking option. I didn't know that. So it's like full support is in, and as well as like now it supports multiple processor cores. So I was like, okay. So like, I can't even remember the last time I had a computer that didn't have multiple cores in it. Can't remember.
Johnny,
2005?
You are the 1%.
All right, maybe, but still, like this is a game that just got released on PC, a month ago, and they're like, oh yeah,
Johnny, the thing about Deadly Premonition is they barely made it the first time, and now you're surprised that they can't get it to work.
Well, no, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because, you know, like I said, it did unfortunately, you know, had to make it to Steam through Greenlight rather than actually go through legit channels, which says something, I think. I'm not sure what. Maybe it says, don't wear those underpants ever again. But that sounds
it means the Swery65 and his team have more imagination than skill.
Very possibly. But what bothered me the most about this patch is that it completely fucked up Durante's fan resolution shit.
No one fucks with Durante.
I was like, okay, I can understand if you were fucking up with that fan patch, that fan resolution patch thing, if you were adding it into your own game, but you didn't. So, what's the story? Like, why'd you, What? Hey? So then I tried it, because this was just released today. I tried it before we started the podcast today, and, like, sure bloody enough, it fucking crashed on me. Again. And I tried it without, you know, the Durante patch, which was added, like, stability to the game for me. I was like, wow, this is much better now that I have this fan-made, like, graphics mod. And it was like, yeah, it stopped it from working. And then fucking crashed on me. At the same spot. I can't get out of the hospital. Can't do it. So, yeah.
This entire thing is going to totally color your thoughts on the game. Like, you'll never be able to divorce your experience with the gameplay from your technical issues.
Well, that is why I'm trying to leave it alone, because I kind of want it to, like, sort out. I go back, like, every Monday or something, or, like, every Sunday, and just be like, I wonder if Deadly Premonition works this week. And then I play through until it crashes, and I go, nope. So all I really played this week was Metro Last Light. I got started on Metro Last Light because I bought it when it came out because I really liked Metro 2033, and it was just like it was the perfect excuse because I'd been excited about Deadly Premonition and X Rebirth because I haven't played Space or Twin Peaks, the video game, in ages. And I was like, okay, we'll do it. Last Light. It's been on my hard drive forever. And I've probably played about maybe a little more than 3 hours or so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I like it as much as Metro 2033.
From what I've heard, is it's technically a better game, like more competently made, but it's not quite as charming, perhaps.
Yeah, that would probably be the position that I took, because it rushes narrative like crazy, and it seems to bank totally on you having played Metro 2033. So there's no romancing. There's no, like, you know,
last time.
Let's bring you slowly into this, because, you know, I think about Metro 2033, and I'm like, okay, yeah, so I remember the Underground, I remember the Nazis, I remember the Communists, I remember the Dark Ones, I remember the anomalies, I remember stabbing people in the neck, I remember missiles, I remember explosions. Yeah, I think I got it. And then, like, the start of it's like, okay, remember this? I'm like, yeah. It's like, go do this! And I'm like, all right. And then you go somewhere else, and, like, people are like, fuck you. And like, there's a roughness to it. There's a roughness to the way it tells its story, and, like, I'm not even sure. Is Metro Last Light based on a book?
I'd have to check. But, I mean, the sequel to 2033 was 2034, so the fact that it's not called that leads me to believe it's divergent from the novels.
That's kind of what I'm thinking here, is that it sort of, whereas, you know, 2033 might have had a writer to lean on, Last Light kind of smacks of somebody being like, no, we can do this better.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It does not follow any direct storyline from the books. So, yeah. They didn't they didn't directly adapt 2034.
I mean, like the atmosphere is still pretty great, and it's still pretty cool to be like, sneaking around and like in the underground and putting gas masks on and wiping gas masks and then taking gas masks off and putting them back on again. But yeah, not as charming. Not as charming. But again, I'm only, like 3 and a bit hours in, so it might open up to me. We'll see if I am impressed by the end of it. What's your smoking gun this week, Yorsky?
Well, I couldn't talk about it last week, but I played Tearaway. Did you read my review?
I did not have a chance.
Aw. Here's the thing. I loved it, but I was really surprised how much everyone else loved it. I thought I was going to be the outlier. I thought I was going to be the weird kid who was way into horses for some reason, and everyone else was going to look at me funny. But it turned out, I gave it an 8, and I think that's probably one of the lowest scores. Polygon gave it a 9.5. Detoid gave it a 10. 9s and 10s across the board. Everyone fucking loves it. And I'm here sitting with my 8, looking like an asshole.
Hey, 8's pretty fucking good for us.
I know, but I thought it was going to be the highest score. I thought I was going to be a little creepily into it, but I don't know. Things turn out differently sometimes. It's a Vita game. It's the Vita game that came out the same day as the Xbox One and Super Mario 3D World, which is probably the worst release date in history anyone has ever consigned a major first-party release to. Wow, just not a good idea. It's probably going to fail miserably financially, but it's Media Molecule, the people who made Little Big Planet, and it's just as charming. You're a little paper person in a paper world of paper, and you, as a character, you, the human being holding the Vita, are in the game. Like the cameras on the front of the Vita are looking at your face, so you are looking down on the characters. It's a pretty cool effect where like the characters will look up and like see you looking down on them because of the Vita cameras. And you can use the touchscreen like on the front to like tear paper, and like on the back to like poke your fingers up into the world to like push stuff around.
Whoa.
It's really cool. But all of that, like all the actual gameplay, the platforming and stuff, like it's functional and it's solid. But what makes the game so special is all of the I don't even want to call it story, because the game really doesn't have a story. It's just you are a little paper messenger and you're delivering a message to the player. You're supposed to like climb a mountain and get to the sky where you as the player are looking down so that you can give them a message. That's really the only story. But everything that happens along the way, it's like a whimsical, I guess is the best word to use, but it's just so good. It's constantly asking for you to like make little things out of paper. It's like the beginning, you're like walking around and a squirrel comes up to you and it's like, hey, can you make me a crown? And so it gives you like construction paper and you can like cut little shapes and you make a little crown. Presumably you can just do whatever you want, but the more effort you put into it, the more it pays off. And everything you do kind of comes back to you in the end. It's cool. And the more time and effort you put into it, the more rewarding it is. And to say any more would be to spoil it, because it's a very, very well planned game. It doesn't feel like something that would have a plot twist, and it doesn't have a conventional one, but it has a thing that you kind of just need to experience. And I was worried about talking about it too much in my review. I was kind of opaque about it. Some reviews I saw were a little bit more in-depth. So I'd be careful about which ones you read. I don't know. If you have a Vita, I'd just say pick it up.
I don't. But I'm going to pick it up anyways. And then I'll put it back down again and go, my friend Austin told me to do that.
I feel bad for Media Molecule. I don't think they're gonna see too much financial success with this, but artistically, I think it's an achievement. It's a cool little thing. I don't have much more to say about it. If you have a Vita, get it. If you don't, it's not worth buying a Vita for, but still very good. What else did I play? I'm playing a game called Rainbow Moon. It's for review technically. It's the Vita port of the game that was released for the PS3 like a year ago.
Yeah.
So you can look up our PS3 review for that if you want. It's a pretty generic little RPG. You like wander around, you run into little goblins and such, and then you battle them with your sword. You know, I'm not terribly excited by it, but it's functional. We'll see what happens with that review. The entree for this podcast, the main attraction is I'm going to tear into Jak 2, the sequel to Jak and Daxter, which I talked about last week, Johnny.
Yeah, I remember this.
So I'm playing the HD collection. I played Jak and Daxter last week. If you listen to the show, you know I thought it was okay. It was a pretty standard collect-a-thon. The sequel is not. The sequel is a third-person shooter, open world sandbox thing.
Yep.
And I think most people would start their criticism there. Much like the Prince of Persia going from the Sands of Time to the Warrior Within, it's kind of infamous for its shift in tone. And you know, that's ever mockable. The gritty thing that was going on in the 90s.
I don't have time for this.
That's fun to make fun of, but we're not even going to get there for like 20 minutes, so you need to buckle the fuck up.
All right.
Because this game is... I've played worse games, Johnny. I played Wreck-It Ralph. I gave that a 1.
Yep.
I played Spirit Camera, The Cursed Memoir. I gave that a 2.
Yep.
Aliens, Colonial Marines. Gave that a 3.
Oh, that one runs deep in my shit list.
All of those are worse games. But in the 3 years-ish, I've been working for BT, and perhaps maybe even further back than that, Jak 2 is the most unpleasant video game experience I have had since having this job.
Well then, that's a pretty damning statement.
It is thoroughly unenjoyable from beginning to end. No, I laughed at Aliens Colonial Marines. Like, I smiled from laughter at the incompetence. I could not even muster that. Jak 2 is miserable every single moment of it. And I think I'm going to get some pushback on that. I know, like, Yusuf really likes the game. Fuck Yusuf, because everything about this game is fucked. The camera sucks. The controls suck. The plot sucks. The characters suck. The missions suck. The checkpoint system sucks. Everything about this game sucks. Every fucking aspect of this game sucks. I don't know how to make that any clearer to you right now.
I hear it sucks.
That's not the thing, though. You don't hear it sucks. I looked it up. It got 9s and 10s when it came out. It's a beloved classic.
No, I mean, I'm hearing now. It sucks.
You're hearing now from me, who either I am the lone sane man in this world, or it has aged so terribly to render it an entirely different experience. Because, I mean, when it came out, I can see why it was a technical achievement. It's a big open city. There are a lot of characters on screen at the same time, stuff like that. But even, I mean, here's the thing. If you listen to the show, you know I just played through the Sly Cooper HD collection. Those are all PS2 games as well, and those were all good games.
Yeah, I listened to the show last week. I remember you talking about it.
It's not as if I don't remember how PS2 games were. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's not. I don't think it's a time thing. I think this game just sucks. It's I don't even know where to begin. Honestly, I guess we can go back to the tone thing. I mean, the first game was a collect-a-thon. You had to collect all these little orbs, and then you won like the game. And the villains that were in there weren't very developed or whatever. But it doesn't matter because all of that's immediately thrown away. The game opens with completely abandoning the previous world and everything about it. It's just wipes the slate clean, new everything, and it's all super dark and gritty. And like Jak was previously mute, and he opens this game being tortured for 2 years until now he talks, and he's so angry. He's so angry, and he lets everyone know at every available opportunity. So tortured.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So, is that how you felt after playing?
Maybe it's a metaphor for how you feel after sitting through the game. It would be generous to even say it has a plot. It's more of a collection of cliches strung together between, like, busy work. It does the Grand Theft Auto thing, where every mission is just do odd job for asshole because he says so.
Yeah.
just no connective tissue. None of the characters are interesting or likable. Like, all the plot twists are just outrageously telegraphed. Like, my girlfriend just walks through the room once. It's like, she wasn't watching or anything. She was just like, so that guy's evil, right? And it's like 10 minutes later. 10 minutes later, he betrays you. Like, come the fuck on. Like, it's not even trying.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't spoilers. Fuck you if you think this is spoilers. Early on, there's
Austin,
this character.
I believe we talked about the whole, like, spoiler limit ages ago.
There's this kid. There's a kid who shows up who looks exactly like you, but is a kid. And then at the end, it's like, he is you from the future or something. And it's like, no shit, he looks exactly like you. They didn't even bother hiding it. He's not wearing...
you from the future?
Yeah, and they send him into the past, and he grows up into you.
Oh, okay.
The point is, they didn't even put a hat on him or anything. It's just like they took the Photoshop scaling tool and just shrunk him.
Well, that sounds like a lovely idea.
He's exactly the same. That's not a plot twist. Everyone is so fucking rock stupid.
So who did the Jak and Daxter games back in the day?
That's Naughty Dog.
Like even Jak and Daxter 2?
Even Jak X Combat Racing is Naughty Dog.
Wow. That's
Speaking of combat racing, it's clear that they wanted to do that. They did not want to make the actual Jak and Daxter sequels. They wanted to make a racing game. And it's very obvious because half of Jak 2 is racing.
Really?
Yeah, like the racing in sandbox games isn't like new. Like Grand Theft Auto has plenty of races.
Oh yeah.
But like it's central to like the plot of the game. It's you becoming the best racer so you can get a key to get into the palace or whatever. So like half of the game, when you're not doing like tedious bullshit, you're racing. And the racing isn't good enough to justify that. It's the thing is the game wants to be Mario Kart, and it wants to be Ratchet and Clank, and it wants to be Grand Theft Auto, and it wants to be Tony Hawk. There's like all this terrible like hoverboard shit.
It sounds like they're just trying to chase an identity. And like I'll be honest with you, as somebody who watched from the outside, I always kind of saw the Jak and Daxter games as being like, what are you?
Exactly.
Do you know?
It has such a non-presence. Like, the art style is just, like, bleh.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. It doesn't have any, like, like, the bad guys are called metalheads. Like, oh yeah, that's an iconic villain for the ages. It's so not its own thing. And I can see them abandoning the original. Because, I mean, the collectathon was played out. They hadn't set up any like mythos that needs to be explored.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of on board genre jumping. Like if they had wanted to make Ratchet and Clank, make Ratchet and Clank. But the thing is, Ratchet and Clank is funny and it's fun and it has a motherfucking lock-on system. Here's the thing about Jak 2. It's a third-person shooter, but you can neither manually aim nor lock on.
You just have to vaguely point yourself in the direction of someone you consider to be offensive and hope.
Oh yeah. That's how they fucking did it. That's the fucking shooting mechanics. Spray and pray. And they have, of course, all of your thousands of enemies have pinpoint accuracy from miles away.
Of course, and these were the days of the PS2, where difficulty meant that whenever somebody shoots at you, they hit.
Oh, and if you die, you lose 10 minutes of progress because the checkpoints are fucked.
Fuck.
Oh my god, Johnny, you have not even begun to feel my suffering.
No, I fucking hate bad checkpoints. I hate them.
And it's not even like, okay, difficulty is one thing. We've talked about this before. I don't mind Dark Souls and stuff, but if your game is 80% instant death pits, perhaps have more generous checkpoints.
Yeah.
Because it's not that the game's too hard for me, it's that you're making me redo things I've already done. Like, I beat that section. I'm good enough. Now I have to do it 20 more times because I'm not quite good enough for the next section.
Yeah.
That's just tedious. It's not fun. That's the thing. Jak 2 is not fun in any way. Not even a little bit. There's so many things that go into, like, the pedestrians have no sense of self-preservation. And you want to say, like, this is a hardware issue, like the AI on the PS2 wasn't good enough. But they are smart enough to react. Like, when gunfights break out, they throw their hands up. And they're like, oh no, trouble.
All right.
So they don't get the fuck out of the way.
Okay, hold on. So I'm assuming that if you accidentally gun down, kill, run over, or hurt these bystanders in any way, it's bad news for you.
That's the thing. I don't think anyone cares. Like, you can just run down the street gunning people down, and the game doesn't even acknowledge it. Like, it doesn't seem to be... Like, if you bump into, like, one of the bad guys, like, they'll immediately start chasing you down. But the game itself just doesn't seem to care about civilian death. But they swarm in front of you, like, on purpose almost sometimes. Like, you're in a high-speed chase or a gun battle, and those motherfuckers are just milling about, just in the way, on purpose.
Taking bullets?
Pretty much. Yeah, they're lemmings. But that's the thing. I don't know if it's, like, part of, like, the harsh, gritty reality they're trying to spin here or something. But it's like, Jack just straight up murders, like, tons of people, and the game's totally okay with it. And then Dexter's, quipping or something, Oh, he's so cheeky.
Yeah.
That comic relief animal that's borrowed from the fucking Disney 90s. It's weird. I still can't get over the spray and pray gameplay. What? No. I can't. Ugh. There's a reason they don't do that anymore. Can you think of the last game that didn't have either manual aiming or a lock-on system?
No.
It's madness is what it is.
But it's like, it's back in the days when, like, it's like Quake days. It's like third-person shooter Quake days is what I'm thinking.
I was actually thinking about this, and it's like, they're still making Ratchet and Clank games. They're still making Sly Cooper games. I think both of those got an entry this year. And, like, those are all from the same time period, the same system, the same, like, group. But they haven't made a Jack game in, like, 5-6 years. Like, I think it's pretty clear the reason why, and they just weren't ever good.
From listening to you describe Jack 2 here, I'm inclined to agree.
I mean, I guess the first one had a little charm for me, and I'm about to play the third one, but it seems like Naughty Dog abandoned it for a reason. It's just there wasn't any mileage left in it. I don't think it really ever had any kind of special spark.
Maybe they were just better storytellers than game makers.
They're not bad game makers. It's they make good what they make.
But they're better storytellers, though.
That's true. I mean, the gunplay in, like, Uncharted is a little limp, but I don't know. It's just the third one looks like Mad Max, like Rage, that shooter game?
I remember Rage.
It's just like a desert, like, dune buggy game. It's so far removed from, like, the second one, which is like Blade Runner, and the first one, which is like Banjo-Kazooie. Like, they never could settle on a single, like, thing for it. I don't know.
Trying to find a voice.
I think they fail pretty hard. Oh, my favorite part is how the characters, like, you've seen the art style, they're, like, cartoony and, like, exaggerated. Yeah. And then they when they swear in cutscenes, oh my god, hilarious. It's adorable. Trying to be big grown-ups. Oh, jeez. I could go on for days. Do you want to hear about the camera?
Do it!
So you can move it from left to right, but not up and down, for reasons which are unclear to me, because it's not as if the right analog stick up and down is mapped to anything else. But I guess that would ruin all of their fixed camera segments, in which you have to make blind jumps into the abyss.
Really?
When they're not on a timer, because everything is timed in this game, every mission, it's like you have to walk over to the next platform in 8 seconds, go! And if you fail, you lose 10 minutes of progress. Because fuck you. I don't know, it's like, sometimes there's a reason for the timer, it's like, oh, a bomb is going to go off. But a lot of times it's just like, no. Just because we want to waste your time if you fail and have to start over. Oh, the game is all about wasting your time. All about it.
Yeah, it seems it.
It loves it some good time wasting. Seriously, it took me like 11 hours to beat it. And there are like 3 plot points. Like, what was all of that in the middle? It's just transit time. Driving from one mission giver to the next. And then to the place where I have to shoot 10 dudes to beat that mission. It's...
Horrible.
If I had, it's like I said, it's the most unpleasant gaming experience I can remember since joining BT. But I don't know if it's technically terrible. Like, it's not like glitchy or anything. And the HD remake, like the HD Code of Paint looks fine. And like, I don't know, if I was like actually reviewing it, how would I even go about that? I've never hated something so much that is objectively just kind of okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Welcome to the world of how I feel about Fear 3.
Yeah, but that demonstrably crashed on you like numerous times, right?
You know what? I had more fun with it having crashed. It like being crashed than actually playing the game.
That's probably my favorite like review title card like anyone's ever used. Wasn't that just your desktop? Like that's brilliant.
It was, by and large, it was the picture of the game that I was most familiar with.
Oh man, I wish Jak 2 was like an unstable, buggy mess, because then I could just dismiss it entirely. But it's a functional game. It's just deeply anti-fun, which is, I guess, harder to convince people, because then people can say, I played it and it was fun. Like, a couple people said to me on Twitter, I was like, oh, Jak 2 is the worst. And they're like, oh, I love that game. And I'm like, I'm sorry? Like, I don't know, how does that conversation go?
It's a difficult conversation to have unless somebody is actually completely aware of why they love something.
Yeah,
and that's,
you have to be able to articulate a point to have a discussion on it. If it's kind of like vague notions of enjoyment, it's hard to like rebut that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's okay to admit that you like something for the wrong reasons. Like you don't have to be like, oh, I've got a really guilty pleasure of enjoying fucking, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like an old school PC game that people hate that I'm a huge fan of. All right, I know that not a lot of people like the Stalker games.
Mm.
And or even like we'll go closer to my heart, The Witcher. The very first Witcher game, I tell people all the time that I'm like, yeah, I love the Witcher games. And then people play The Witcher 2 because oftentimes that's like the only experience that they have available to them on the console. And they ask me, hey, like, is The Witcher 1 good? And I have to tell them, I say, I love it, but the interface is going to work against you. You're not necessarily going to find the combat that good. The actual leveling up system is pretty unintuitive, and I'd go so far as to say unfriendly. And you might find it a little tasteless.
It has a rough learning curve, but
it has a very rough learning curve, but I'm allowed to say that I love it because it's got some of the best writing that I've seen in an RPG. In the sense that it's not like it paints a rich world, although I think it does, kind of almost to its detriment, where it's like, what's going on? Who are these people? Why do I have to go there? What's a Witcher, and why am I one of them?
Amnesia, Johnny. Solves all of your backstory problems.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, yeah, if you can acknowledge, if you can say, hey, I really liked the Sierra adventure games because I grew up on them, and then if somebody's like, ooh, should I play them? I'm like,
My go-to in that kind of vein is always Drakengard.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, oh, I love Drakengard. Oh, should I play it? No. No, don't play Drakengard.
Don't you dare go near it.
It's terrible. I just love it. And that is it. I guess I can kind of articulate it just because it's so batshit insane. It's just so weird and unique. But it's that's still a little vague. It's not like I can nail down like any particulars in a sense. Like, people just say Jak 2 is fun, and I just go, no, it is not. And then we go our own separate ways, I guess, on that. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing?
It could be. I mean, and that, like, sadly, that's one of these things that is, I think, the most difficult for people to recognize, where they're like, yeah, it's associated with a particular time in my life, and maybe it was good for the time, but it hasn't aged well.
Which is, I'll just go back. It's like I've played the old Ratchet and Clank and Sly games recently, and they're still good. So if Jak has particularly aged poorly, it must be something about its open world design that makes it so difficult to go back to. But even then, it's like it's not like the open world stuff is bad. It's just uniquely
crap.
I guess it has everything on paper. Like, it has all kinds of, like, variety and stuff. It's just none of it's good.
There's chasing design and trying to do, like, what the other definitive people of your time are doing, and then there's photocopying, like pale, unpleasant attempts.
If they had just cynically photocopied Grand Theft Auto 3, that would be one thing. That might actually be fun. But it's the combination of the Grand Theft Auto 3, the Ratchet and Clank, the Tony Hawk, the Mario Kart together that makes it just, they say jack of all trades, master of none. It's like jack of several trades, terrible at everything. Actually, it's funny because I was playing it like well into the night one night, and my girlfriend came home from work at like midnight, and she was watching me play it until like 3 a.m, and she was like falling asleep, and like I was saying, she was like, they make you grind so much, but it's not good. And I was like, that would be my review right there. They make you grind so much, and it is not good. Like,
yep.
Because the grind rail stuff, like that's a Ratchet and Clank staple, as you jump onto like the thin metal things. Even a Tony Hawk staple, grinding on the rails, and you're supposed to hold square and you grind, but sometimes you just phase through it and fall into the abyss. Like, there's no way it could have been my fault. I'm just grinding along, and he just falls through the solid rail. And it's like that encapsulates everything about this game sometimes to me. And it's like we should do like a gimmick YouTube channel, like Hot Pepper Gaming. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I know Hot Pepper Gaming.
Where you just eat a hot pepper and try to do a review. We should do like Sleepy Girlfriend reviews, where she just tries to sum up the game she was watching me review at 3 a.m, and it's just like, sometimes it's just like from the mouth of babes. It sums it up so well. They try to make you do it. It's just not good. That's Jak 2, man.
Yep.
I'm moving on to Jak 3. Maybe it's better. It seems to be a more direct sequel. It seems to be like still a third-person shooter, still an emphasis on driving, still an open world. So maybe it's a marginal improvement instead of starting from scratch like this one did.
Yeah.
But I look forward to the comments on this, because someone has to like this game. Let me read you the reviews. Hold on, I looked this up because I was like, there's no way I can be this crazy, but apparently I am.
While he does this, I challenge you, listener, justify your love of Jak and Daxter 2.
Everything in Jak... Okay, this is from GameSpot's review. Everything in Jak 2 comes together to produce one of the best-looking, best-playing games on the PS2 so far. Jak 2 is an enormous and ambitious game that succeeds on every level. The gameplay is rewarding, and the story twists and turns more than you expect from a game like this. I can't even read anymore. Where was this? Hold on, there was another one here. Yeah, here it is. IGN says, Jak is far more likable now that he speaks, and the fact that he's pissed off and owns honking big guns weaves an unmistakable new level of emotion into the narrative. Is that David Cage emotion?
No, obviously not. Because in order to have guns that evoke emotion, you have to talk about how guns in other games are bad, but then put guns in your game, but use them emotionally.
That's, like, I understand gaming journalism has come a long way in 10 years, but reading those,
one would hope.
It has, though. Like, if you look today compared to like, the shit that used to get churned out of, like, IGN, it was like, top 10 hottest gaming babes, and now it's, like, actual articles. But, I mean, those sentences I just read to you sounded like pieces from The Onion.
Yeah.
The big honking guns weave emotion into the narrative.
Yeah, that does sound pretty
First of all, that's just a lie. That's just, that's just untrue. But even if it were...
Wait. What part is a lie? Are the guns not big honking?
They're normal honking. They're just...
Such a lie. Such a lie.
They're just even... whatever. I'm done. Fuck all of this. There's no emotion in this game. Are they... They must have been high when they wrote that.
Did you play anything else this week?
No, Tearaway, Rainbow Moon, Jak 2. Next week, Jak 3. And whatever else I can stomach. I knew that was coming, and still, you couldn't even give me the satisfaction of having a good rant about it.
No, finish.
No, not yet. The game. I'm still feeling like I didn't get any kind of closure after shitting on it for 20 minutes. Just awful.
That must be pretty shitty then. If that is what.
Ow.
And so, silence once again settles over the Blistered Thumbs podcast as Austin calms and readies himself for bed, and Johnny prepares another drink.
So if tomorrow is Thanksgiving in America, is it anything in Canada, or is it just a regular day?
Just a regular day.
Huh.
We have our Thanksgiving earlier. We have it in October.
I remember when you had it. I just wasn't sure if, because, America is the most important thing in the world, right? So obviously when we take a day off, I assume everything else comes to a stop.
No. But, we do get Cyber Monday, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't do any of that. I don't Black Friday. I don't Cyber Monday. I don't Shoes Tuesday or whatever.
I think it's Broccolini Tuesday.
Do you trample strangers at Walmart?
No, we don't. We don't have a Black Friday in Canada. There's no no fucking Black Friday. You can go across the border down to the States and try your hand at stepping on people, but it's something I eschew.
Yeah, I don't do that. It seems deeply
disturbing.
Yeah, I was trying to find a more delicate way to put it. It's fucked up. Black Friday is the reason the terrorists hate us.
It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Besides, once you've seen Steam sales, every other sale kind of seems cute and passé.
Aw, look at you. 20% off. Aren't you gonna grow up big?
Now it will crush a man's skull to secure the deal.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. Pretty fucked up.
You know what I'm thankful for, Johnny?
What?
That this podcast is over.
You deserve some rest, Austin. And I also do believe that you have now properly exclaimed that for Jam Jam this year, disappointment is going to be your flavor.
Oh, man.
Really excited about Jam Jam, Austin.
Did they ever do Boob Jam? We talked about that before. Probably. Did that ever happen?
They probably did.
I feel like I didn't get the press release if there was any boob-related games. I would have to give those to Gabe to review, obviously.
Yep.
Did you see?
They did it. They did it.
Gabe reviewed Senran Kagura, a.k.a. the boob game. He gave it an 8.
I guess Gabe likes boobs.
It's a pretty in-depth review. Basically, he's like, it's way better than it probably should be. It's dumb and fan servicey, but it's actually a legitimately good little brawler, which is fine. I know Taylor imported it. Craziness.
Okay, so apparently the Boob Jam did happen.
Uh-huh.
They are at theboobjam.com. We've got some games. We've got The Milk of Human Kindness is one. A game centered around the family life of two women, Brooke and Cecilia, who deal with a boob-loving baby, among other things, daily. And then, in contrast, right below it, we've got Cold Wave, an auto-boobography with lasers.
I'm on the website now. Brilliant.
Yeah. There's My Hobby, which tests your bra shopping and fitting knowledge and know-how. Grand Tetons, an autobiographical journey of my transition as told via a dystopian platformer fantasy. I wonder if we're going to see a lot of autobiographical boob games, because that seems very, very self-involved. Jiggle Physics, which is a very subtle game about a bowl of Jell-O. The Kingdom of Shitland.
Oh man, I guess I'll just link this under the cast. There are some really weird games here.
Yeah.
Wait, you have to go a little bit more. There's like one more I want you to get to for you. Yeah, I want you to hear say it on air.
Gaze?
No, the next one.
Okay, fine. Those darn nipples.
I would make that the podcast title if I didn't think it would immediately get censored.
It probably would.
I like the description. Do you, dear player, know where a nipple goes? It's trickier than it looks.
Might be.
Oh, goodness.
Goodness, or maybe a little weirdness.
Is that how we're going to end it?
No, right now I just want to end it by saying sorry.
To me?
No.
Or to... Okay.
Everybody. You included. Yeah, I'm sorry.